call to order the Lewisville Town Council meeting for June of 2013. We'll start tonight's business with our consent agenda led by our town manager.
Thank you. Tonight's consent agenda consists of Resolution 2013021, the acceptance and approval of monthly financials for April 2013, the approval of council briefing and action minutes from May 2nd, 2013, approval of council budget meeting minutes from May 6th, 2013, approval of council regular meeting minutes from May 9th, 2013, approval of council budget and action minutes for May 23rd, 2013.
Thank you. Council, we went over these minutes individually at our briefing session. Do you have any questions concerning any of the minutes or of the regular meetings, briefings, or the budget action or budget workshops? Not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
Have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the like sign. Okay, our consent agenda passes. We'll go on to the next item on the agenda.
Okay, the next section is presentations and/or proclamations. Under consent proclamations, there are none for consideration this evening. For presentations, we do have presentations on the agenda.
Okay. We have actually two presentations tonight. The first will be recognizing those members of our Student Leadership Committee that are with us tonight, for those that have completed, I guess, their term in office. Is that the way we look at it? So Ms. Kathy Bruce is our staff member that works with this committee, and so she's going to help in the presentation of the certificates tonight. And then we'll call them up one at a time, or okay.
If you're here, when you hear your name, come forward. We will be calling out all of the ones that have earned the certificates, and then at the end, we will mention the other names of our student leadership body.
First, you call them, or you want me to?
You go ahead. You go ahead.
Rebecca Bennett. Rebecca here.
No.
Kylie Blevins. Abby Hill. Congratulations. You wouldn't stand over here, huh? Madeline Johnson. Savannah Steed. Hey, Savannah, good to see you. Thank you very much. Masha Talent. Allie Thompson. Allie is the secretary of the committee this year. Thank you. Thank you. Chase Hill. Thank you, Chase. And he is the vice chair. Chase is the vice chair of the committee. And Mandy Hill. A great job this year, Mandy. Mandy's been our chair, and we appreciate so much all that you've done with the committee.
Okay, the others in the student leadership body are Miles Cadian, Lucas Godwin, Samantha Godwin, Tyler Green, Alex Porter, Jordan Stevens, Wade Whitehurst, and Henry Rowell.
Do you want to say anything about the group and their activities as a whole?
I've been honored to work with a wonderful group of young adults this year. They're very talented, and they learned about governing this year, and also they've helped the staff, and the entire staff wants to say thank you to all of you for assisting us in our events. And also, they've also attended other meetings besides their student leadership meeting and come back and reported to the group as a whole. And we're very, very proud of this group. They're a great bunch of young people. Honored.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you all.
Congratulations to one and all. Great program, and we appreciate so much that you're taking your time and effort to be a part of it and all that you've done for the town. I forgot to mention earlier that we are recording tonight's council meeting, and it will be for replay next week on Channel 6. So it's one of the things we've been doing now for a few months, and still working on some of the intricacies of the technology, but it's thanks to Lynn, it's turning out very well. Thank you, Lynn. I have one other presentation, and certainly my honor and distinct pleasure to recognize a friend, and I hope I can get through this. Susan Jones, would you come forward, please, on behalf of yourself and your family? Chris was a great friend of ours. We lost Chris a little over a year ago in a tragic accident that he was an individual that served our community as a whole on a regional basis. He was an outstanding individual, a leader in all respects, and one that's been just sorely missed, really and truly. But our council, some time back, in our grieving way, we agreed that we'd like to recognize Chris in a special way. And we've done that by having a memorial brick that will be placed in the Shalford Square. And this is just a token of our appreciation. It's in memory of Chris Jones from his birth of 1942 to 2012. This big brick has been placed at column 70, row 10. We'll show you where that is in Shalford Square. And it's not there yet, but, oh, it is there, yeah. Sorry, it is there, so we'll be able to show you that. But this is presented to Chris's wife, Susan, in honor of Chris and to his family also. We're sorry that Christopher and Amy couldn't be here tonight, but we understand that. And, I think there's a new grandchild right around the corner. Okay. But Susan, we, as the town of Lewisville, we respected so and appreciated Chris. And I personally call him a dear friend. And we spent time together at Reynolds, and then we've been, let's see, I guess it's nearly 15 years together on the Piedmont Triad Regional Council. We were delegates to the Appalachian Regional Conference together, and so, and then Chris actually had positions of leadership representing our region on a national level from the Council of Governments across the states. So he's certainly one to always be remembered, and may God bless you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor and Council. He worked with a lot of you folks here, and he appreciated Lewisville. Loved seeing Clemens grow and Lewisville grow to be garden spots of North Carolina, good places to live and raise your family and enjoy all that North Carolina has to offer. Thank you so much. This is a wonderful way to have his memory preserved, and my family and I really appreciate it.
Well, you're more than welcome.
Thank you.
Yes,
He enjoyed
all token of our appreciation.
your friendship, and he enjoyed all that happened in this area to be part of and see it grow. So thank you.
Thank you, thank you. We also have an honored guest with us tonight, Mayor of Clemens, who worked very, very close with Chris. And I don't know if you'd care to say anything, John. You're welcome to if you'd like to.
It's just my privilege to stand here with Susan and on behalf of the village of Clemens and our council, and pay homage also to the 16 plus years serving on our council immediate, not to speak of the years that he gave in the lives of kids in education and other civic duties. And so I appreciate being asked to be here tonight and standing with Susan, and so much appreciate that.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here.
I have to say one thing, not to upstage your agenda, but Monday night, I also stood with Corporal Osborne and Chief Stanley to say goodbye to one of Clemens' best in Corporal Osborne, and you're bringing
Yes,
here.
we're
So
going to.
there's some regret there.
We're going to use Eric just momentarily. So, but we say your loss, our gain.
Mayor,
Yes.
if I might,
Please.
Ms. Jones,
Yes.
I hope you don't throw something at me about what I'm getting ready to tell a little story. In 1995, I won my first election, and the day of election, I and Dan Jennings were tied. And after recounts, I won by 1 vote. Chris had just retired from Reynolds at that, shortly before that, and was involved actively at West Forsyth High School with volunteering, and he was volunteering with a civics class down there. And he asked me if I'd come out and speak to them, and I did, and I told him the story and so forth to the students. And afterwards, Chris and I were talking, and I said, Chris, you need to get involved. So he did.
So it was your fault.
That's my fault, yes ma'am. He got involved, and then he's probably spent many hours away from you and the family with all the things that he has done for not only our local communities, but for the state of North Carolina, the leading municipalities, and so forth. So I apologize to you for taking him away, getting him involved, and taking him away from you, if you will. So, but that's actually how I suggested to him. I said, "You need to run if you're," and he did, and he got elected his first time.
Say no.
He did not say
That's not
no.
part of his vocabulary, at least where service was concerned.
So I apologize to you, man. But
Okay,
he was
that
great.
was
He was a
key.
great man. He was a great man.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. You want another have, and we'll still comment? Next on our agenda is some introductions of a new member that I think we've already let the cat out of the bag. But,
Sorry about that.
that's quite all right. If the roles were reversed, I would be in the same situation. But we do have an honor and privilege tonight of having the Chief Deputy of Forsyth County with us, and he's going to introduce the new leader in our community policing. Brad Stanley, Chief Deputy of Sheriff's Department of Forsyth County.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Good evening. I don't know where to stand. I don't want to.
No, that's fine.
I'll sort of stand here momentarily. Let me just say first to the council, thank you for allowing us to be here tonight to introduce a new member of your staff, and is our continuing partnership to provide law enforcement in Lewisville specifically. The other thing I would say is the sheriff is not here, and he sends his regrets through me. He is actually at an event in Kernersville tonight. Civic organization is honoring our officer of the year, so that's where he's at. Otherwise, he would be here. So he sends his regrets for not being here. Eric, come on up. I have to say, when I saw Mayor Moss arrive, I thought, God, he's coming to try to steal me back. He's already got the guy in the war trying to steal him back. Let me just say and introduce to you, this is Corporal Eric Osborne. Eric comes to you tonight as your new corporal in charge of your community policing program here in Lewisville. Eric comes with a variety of work experiences. I was just reading his resume, and sitting out in the parking lot before the meeting. In about 2 weeks, he'll begin his 21st year, or actually end his 21st year in about 2 weeks. The first 8 years or just over was spent with Winston-Salem Police. He then got his mind together and came over to the sheriff's office and has been there with us since the year 2000. primarily, he had a few years in patrol, and then he went to Clemens to provide them with their community policing program. And like I said, Eric is a fine individual, brings a wealth of knowledge of law enforcement, understands the community policing program and what that program is about. And I think Mayor Voss can attest to that. If there is any question, he has done a fine job in Clemens. Clemens hated to lose him. They honored him and recognized his service for them on Monday night. And so we're here tonight to introduce Corporal Eric Osborne to each of the staff. Eric, any comments from you?
Well, thank you, Chief. I would just like to say thank you for the opportunity of putting me in this fine community. I look forward to working with each and every one of you. I do embrace the community policing concept. If there's anything I can do, just please call on me. I'll be here for you.
We're not shy.
That's fine, sir. So, yes, and I look forward to being part of this community as well.
Well, thank you, Eric.
Yes,
We
sir.
certainly appreciate you accepting this challenge, maybe,
Yes.
but certainly look forward to working with you from the council standpoint, and I'm sure from our manager, he will be the first point of contact from the town, for sure. But we look forward to that. We've been very fortunate with the community policing effort here in Lewisville. We've grown from when we started with one officer, we're now up to 6, including yourself. So we think that we've had an extremely fortunate cadre that have done nothing but a professional job and represented both the sheriff's department and the town of Lewisville in the greatest of respect. So we appreciate that very much, and welcome to Lewisville.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Same here,
Yes, sir.
Eric. Good to have you on
Yes,
board.
sir. Happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think the chief deputy has another announcement for us, maybe, that,
Yes, don't want to steal the thunder of Eric, of his honor, but I'll ask Mike Brennan to step up, if you would please, just momentarily. You know, as we talk about, or as my position as the chief deputy, we try to select people that are our best people to be in community policing programs and other programs that we want to understand and do a good job, as with any person, but specifically these community policing programs. And so, Brandon was selected a few years back to come out here. He's right at 6 years of service. And as you say, you get the good ones and they're gonna move on. Well, unfortunately, that's what's happened. The once upon a time corporal of Lewisville advanced on, and we trained him well. That's what we'll take credit for. He is now the sheriff in Yadkin, and that sheriff in Yadkin has now stolen one of our great here. And so Mike will be leaving this coming week to assume a role in the Yadkin County Sheriff's Office. Mike has done a great job for us. From what I'm hearing, just standing here briefly tonight, as folks were coming in, both town staff and council members were expressing their sadness and discontent with him leaving, however, wishing him well in his service in Yadkin County. So I just wanted to make that known as well. So we are searching for a good replacement, and hopefully we'll have that one in place here in the very, very near future for the town of Lewisville. So, Mike, I'll let you address the council.
As Mayor Dan says, the town of Lewisville is not shy. I was making a comment out in the hall to Corporal Osborne that we have 3 dispatch. We have sheriff's office dispatch to calls. We have Stacy in town hall here, and it's maybe Sandra and Lynn. But I hope in all those phone calls I have fulfilled the obligations and requests that you have asked for. It's been an honor to work for the town of Lewisville. Some regret leaving, But I've got an opportunity, and it's a good move for me, and I feel like I need to go. And I appreciate everything the town has done for me. Everybody's been good to me, overwhelmingly. And with Eric, you're getting a very good corporal. He will take care of everything. Every phone calls that you were giving to me, you'll have to go there with those. Thank everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to work out here in Lewisville, and that's about it.
Please tell Rick we said hey.
Chief, you know, that won't be all we'll tell Rick.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, Mike, thank you so much for your service to Lewisville. You most definitely have been outstanding, and you've represented, like I said before, your department and the town of Lewisville in an outstanding manner, and we really appreciate that. And, you know, one thing we're gonna lose, is, I stand beside him here, he just exudes order in his very presence. And so, that is something that we may miss, but we don't know who the replacement will be, but I say that he will, or she will have to be, they'll have to stretch to meet your presence. So, but thank you truly for your service, and we appreciate it very much, and we wish you the very best.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can count.
All right, appreciate it.
Chief, I've always been a big supporter of the Sheriff's Department Community Policing Program, but the fact that you let Rick Oliver steal one of your men.
Well, I've called Rick, and I will not, there's something wrong with the phone line, because it's obviously the call not going through. Anyway, no, it is a great opportunity for Mike, and, you know, you always want to see people do well, and this is a good thing for him. And we hate to lose him, but you always want to see someone prosper, and I think it's a great move. It's our loss, but it's Yankton County's gain.
We just convey for me downtown too, that the community policing program is a fantastic program, and it's been a big asset for the community. So I'm gratified that it's continued through the years, and that it's expanded to the point that it has. Thanks.
I appreciate it. I think that goes a lot for the partnership between the town of Louisville and the sheriff's office, and that's what it is. We're a partnership. We can't do it alone, and obviously you can't do it alone by yourself, so we work together very well. And I think Corporal Osborne will enhance that program even more. That's our goal and our mission for him, and he's well aware that we want this thing to progress.
And you told him you can't take any calls from Rick Oliver, right?
Yeah, we've since blocked all those numbers.
Thanks. Thank you.
I hate Mayor Bost got out before I could make this statement. I think the last time we lost one of our really good officers, he was promoted to sergeant and moved to Clemens. So, you know, Sergeant Hewitt. So, and I'm glad he was able to move to the next level and all. But Lewisville must be a great place for them to learn how to do the job well.
That's right. Teach them well, no doubt about it. No doubt.
Fred, would you mind introducing the officer in charge of the community?
Joey, if you want to step up. This is Lieutenant Joey Redmond. Joey acts as the lieutenant over the Community Services Program, which he oversees all the community policing programs. But we have actually 3 in Forsyth County, specifically Lewisville, Clemens, and Rural Hall. He supervises that, and then obviously serves as a liaison for those towns, municipalities, Walkertown, Bethania, Tobacco, that do not have an actual hired officer. So he serves in that capacity. So we're pleased to have Lieutenant Redmond and his staff. They're doing a great job, but we can always improve, and that's what we want to hear from you. When if you see something that we can do differently or improve, that's what we're about. We're serving you, and that's what we want to do.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, thank you. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you for being here.
Council, thank you.
Appreciate it. Absolutely. I think we've got one more introduction tonight by our town manager.
Guy that's with us this evening is Mr. Franklin Gover. Franklin, please stand up. Mr. Gover is finished now with his coursework at Appalachian State University from the Masters of Public Administration program. He is spending the summer with us as an intern, and he's doing great work.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure so far.
Well, thank you for choosing Lewisville. We appreciate that very much, and look forward to your term report. So, okay. Welcome. Next item we have on our agenda is our public forum. And this is the first of two opportunities that we have in all of our council meetings, our monthly council meetings, for members of the public to come forward and address the council. It could be on any subject, something on tonight's agenda, or something that's just that's weighing heavy on the individual. So what we do, though, is we ask that if you do want, I see we have no sign-ups, or no one to sign up prior to the meeting. But if there's anyone in the audience that would like to address the council, we ask that you come forward to the microphone, that you state your name, your address, and we ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. And this is an opportunity for the council to hear from you. We won't get in discussion, we won't get into debate of any sort, but we do want to hear from our public, and it's another way that we have of communicating. It might be one way tonight, but it's comments that we will take into consideration for action or review. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address council at this time? Okay, hearing or having no takers, we will close the public forum. I would also let you know that we have forms at the rear that you can submit written comments if you'd like to do that. Okay, with the public forum being closed, we'll go to the next item of business.
Okay. Under purchases and contracts, we have none for this evening for consideration. The next section for board and committee appointments, there are none this evening as well. Old business, there is no old business for consideration as well. Brings us to public hearings. We have, for a public hearing tonight, the public hearing to receive comments on the budget for the 2013-2014 fiscal year. I've got a brief statement to read prior to the public hearing, and then we will open the public hearing.
Okay.
This evening, we are holding a public hearing on Lewisville's proposed budget for fiscal year 2013-2014. The total of the general fund for the upcoming year is proposed at $3,858,030. The budget that we are having a public hearing on tonight includes a tax rate of 17.7 cents per $100 valuation. This budget shows a decrease in the general fund from the previous year by $62,160. This represents a decrease of approximately 1.5%. Forsyth County has completed and released new valuation numbers for a 4-year fiscal cycle. Tax values for fiscal year 12-13 were at $1,290,502,160. According to Forsyth County tax appraisers, the total tax value of Lewisville for the upcoming fiscal year is estimated at $1,187,149,330. This is an apparent loss of valuation of 8%. The current proposed tax rate for the general fund is 17.7 cents per $100 valuation. The town of Lewisville also collects a levy for a municipal service district. The current tax rate for the municipal service district is 5 cents per $100 valuation. The tax rate proposed for the municipal service district tonight for the upcoming year remains at 5 cents per $100 valuation. The tax base for the town as of April 1st, 2013 was $1,187,149,330, producing an estimated ad valorem tax revenue of approximately $2.2 million, with 1 cent of the tax rate now equaling $115,154. Once again, in the face of challenging economic environment, the Town Council has been diligent and used sound financial planning to continue its commitment to the citizens of Lewisville to provide the highest standard of services. They have done this while maintaining a level of fund balance to secure future funding opportunities. The unrestricted fund balance is estimated at $3.5 million as of June 30th, 2013. As for services, the town of Lewisville stays committed to the continuation of all existing services for the upcoming fiscal year, to include Parks and Recreation, Financial Administration, Planning and Zoning, Public Works, Beautification Services, Residential Garbage and Recycling, Stormwater Management, and Community Policing. All services are proposed to continue at current level delivery for the upcoming fiscal year. The capital projects remain in this budget for fiscal year 2013 and 2014 are as follows: Shaliford Road, Williams Road Roundabout, the Lewisville-Vienna Sidewalk Project, the Great Wagon Road Development, Design, and Construction. This budget reflects the desire of the council to address the needs of the town while being cognizant of economic conditions. Choices made and expenditures were done to meet priorities and goals of the council established during the retreat process and discussions at council meetings over the past year. During the last few weeks, the town council met to deliberate on the proposed budget. During this time, there were 7 separate meetings on the budget, adding up to approximately 16 hours and 47 minutes of deliberation. And that concludes my comments on this year's fiscal year public hearing.
Thank you. Before we go into the public hearing, is there any questions or comments concerning the manager's statement or any portion to other staff members? All right, if there's none, then we will open the public hearing to receive comments on the 2013-2014 fiscal year budget. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address council concerning any aspect of the budget that has been proposed? Okay, well, if we're having no one to participate, then we will close the public hearing and we'll move forward with council discussion. Council, we had, as the manager had stated, we have put a lot of time and effort, 7 total meetings, I think there were, we had total on different aspects of the budget. We've gone over many of these considerations time and again. We have at our last session, which was held on May the 23rd, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Walker, was that not the date? We did agree to present the budget, as the manager has noted, to the public for tonight, and I think that would be the budget now that is under consideration. Have any comments or discussion from any member of council?
I would like to ask, I know there's been some discussion since our last meeting on the budget. We received word that there's been a change in staffing.
Right.
That was not, it had not happened at the time of that meeting. And so, in some of the conversation I had, one of my concerns with the budget was that we had removed roughly $75,000 from capital reserve funds, which are monies we set aside for future expenses. We commit those to certain projects. And I understand a couple of those that we removed that money from are not necessarily priority items at this time. However, the Great Wagon Road right-of-way and capital reserve fund, I know we changed the title on that to capital or right-of-way and construction fund. This is a project that that's pulled a trigger on moving forward toward a construction time frame of, I believe it's 10 years.
That's correct.
So where I could get more comfortable with this is if we were able to, my understanding is also from talking to our manager, that we're not certain at this point how we're going to fill the function that was previously done by Chester for stormwater, whether that will be a contracted service, whether that will be a function that will be rolled into another existing staff function, or whether a new position would be created on staff, we don't know. But my understanding at this point is that the manager will be studying that, as well as a wage and benefits study that he will be doing, and I'm sure he'll arrive at a conclusion at that time. So I would like to see if there's a way that we could take the money that we do not currently need at this moment for that, put it into the Great Wagon Road construction and right-of-way capital reserve, which is money I know that we will need in the future for that project. And then at such time as the manager determines what course of action he may want to take or recommend to us for stormwater, then that can be deliberated at that time and be done with a budget amendment if the need be, or if it's something that he feels doesn't need to be filled on the permit. I don't know at this point, but that would be my suggestion, something I'd like to see done. I know it's not the full amount that was removed, but I know also we're in a complex time where we've had property values that have dropped, and we've got Raleigh making some considerations on some things that we're uncertain of, but that would go a long way to help me work toward a compromise on the numbers we're looking at.
Well, in response to that, I understand exactly, I think, what you're proposing. Would you not think, though, that it would be something that would come out of the study, that as far as what the amount would be available, would come from the study we're asking the manager to conduct, somewhat of a comprehensive review of both salary and benefits. And as you said, I think I was going to propose to the council tonight that in that study, we not only address our staff salaries and benefits, but maybe even drop back and look at how we're organized and how we're staffed. So, and at that time, I think would be the appropriate time maybe to consider what you're suggesting.
Yeah, that was my point. I think that we don't know what that study will yield and what that recommendation will be, what dollar amount will be required for that position to fulfill that function. So I'm just suggesting that this time we know the exact dollar amount that is currently in this budget for stormwater, for the position that Chester has vacated. So if we were able to take a portion of that money, put it into capital reserve for Great Wagon Road construction right-of-way acquisition, and then when we know the number for stormwater, at that time, because at that time we could do a budget amendment for that position, or for that function, because we will know exactly what that number is then.
Well, you know, once you put money into a capital reserve fund, there are certain restrictions on that particular.
Correct. That's why we expanded the Great Wagon Road. One of the decisions that we did at this budget was to add it because we know that we're moving forward at a 10-year deadline for a construction phase on that road. And 10 years seems like a long time, but, you know, I think we all know from experience that, you know, putting money aside, the sooner you do that, it's gonna cost a lot of money to eventually do that project. So I think it would behoove us, when we have this money free at this time, to put it in there. And as I said, it's not the full amount that we removed from capital reserve, but I think it's sufficient that it would get me toward what it would be a good compromise, I think.
Any other comment or
Let me
consideration?
ask a question, just a clarification, kind of following up what you said, Dan, is it, if we remove that money, Tom, I don't know if you're suggesting an amount, but if we remove that money in that capital reserve, that locks that money up, does it not? Basically, in that reserve,
Yes.
for that intent, right?
For the
Possibly
purpose-
there's some chance to interchange between capital reserves, is it not, finance officer?
When you move money from the general fund directly to the reserve, if that amount of money has not been transferred from the reserve over to a project, you are allowed to return it as such to the general fund if you have not utilized it. The only thing that the reserve fund is doing is a savings for a future project, so therefore, and you're not allowed to spend directly out of the reserve unless the board amends it and moves money from that reserve over to a direct project. So therefore, that if that money has not been moved out to a project, it will stay there, and if you need it returned, then you can prove that it has not been utilized, then you can return it back to the general fund by an amendment.
Okay, so that's fine. Thank you for that clarification. I guess my thoughts are, I certainly respect what you're suggesting. In my view, I'd rather see the manager, let him do his review. I don't know, Hank, I don't want to put you on the spot. I don't know how long it's going to take you to do what you're planning to do in consideration of this. Do you have an idea what kind of time frame we're talking
No,
about?
I don't. Part of it is going to be as we move forward with the vacancy, I'll be able to judge just what a burden it is to us as we move forward with the vacancy period. And then as we see things that come up regarding stormwater administration, I can better gauge the level of the importance of that particular function as it stresses the current staffing levels. But I'm hoping not to prolong this any longer than possible, necessary for this.
I guess my thoughts are is that I would prefer to see him do his study to come up with a number or an idea of where we're gonna go with whatever it is that we end up doing. And rather than moving that money and then having to pull it back some other way. That's my thoughts.
Comments from other council members?
I have a few. I guess I'll start, since we're talking about the position, start there at what really where I was going to start. But the way I look at it is we have an authorized employee position. It's built into our budget. And whether or not we had someone leave on their own free will to pursue a different career, doesn't matter. When we're talking about authorized positions and the 7 meetings and the 16 or whatever hours that we've spent over the last several months, that's where we should have been talking about authorized positions if we're trying to cut money. All right, those discussions were not had during those 7 meetings or 16 plus hours. We were looking to cut positions. Just because this opportunity presents itself, at this point of the ball game, is still an authorized position. It's up to our town manager to provide guidance to us as to how we go forward, at this point in the ball game. So I'm done talking about the authorized position, but it is built into, we have X number of employees, and it could have been any other employee, if you will. We authorized our intern's position. We funded it with a budget amendment to cover until June 30th. Then our new budget covers it from July 1st to the rest of his tenure, and we authorize that as a council. So authorized positions are built into this budget. Now moving on with my comments, if you entertain me a few moments. This budget that we have before us has something for, I think, every one of us that sits up here to hold our noses about. Whether, a piece of this budget we all disagree with. And one of the things that I have a big problem with is our general fund balance. We have something that is enviable by many towns of our size. But we've achieved this over a course of 20 plus years. We're almost 25 years old as a town. We didn't start out with a $3.5 million unrestricted fund balance. Almost a $4 million total, counting our capital reserves and so forth. That didn't happen overnight. This budget starts to draw from that for the sole purpose of maintaining a tax rate that we got focused in on during all of our budget deliberations. Instead of focusing on the budget and the fiduciary responsibilities in running a town. What does it take to run a town? Once you get that budget established, whether it be involving capital reserves or whatever, then you establish a tax rate. We went about it almost 180 degrees apart, where we had a majority that established a tax rate and told the manager and our budget director to build us a budget around a tax rate. We already knew that our property values declined. 8%, I believe I heard Hank say. That reduces the amount of revenue that's coming in. A revenue neutral budget would have required a 1.6 cent increase just to maintain the revenue neutral with that particular decline. It could have been anywhere between where it is and 1.6, and we could still save taxpayer money if we focused on the budget to start with. But we didn't. We focused on a tax rate. We're beginning to borrow from Peter that eventually we're going to have to pay Paul with. Today's storm is an example of why we want to have a good general fund balance. We had an ice storm hit this town some years ago. I've been trying to look back on the photos over there, that the town spent 6 figures assisting our residents so that they could bring debris to the curb, and we sent around a contractor to grind that debris. Had today's shear winds been rotating winds, and we actually had a tornado strike our town, this $3.5 million fund balance and trying to assist our citizens could be run through in a very quick manner, just trying to assist until federal aid, if it were to occur, you know. But we got to step up and help folks. So we can't start borrowing now to pay Peter later, or borrowing from Peter to pay Paul later. I believe I heard Hank say that our unrestricted fund balance has actually fallen $62,000 in this one. That's a 1.5% decrease in the general fund, unrestricted fund balance. So we're starting to pull away from that. Had we went somewhere between 17.7 and the 19.3 that would have been revenue neutral, we could maintain the fund balance. Don't necessarily need to build it up, but you can maintain it. It's not going to maybe hurt us this year, but we're going to start leaving things for future councils to deal with. And we really don't know what these folks down in Raleigh that are down there right now. Joyce forwarded something from the league that indicates municipalities may be impacted by $150 million over this new tax code rewrite for the state of North Carolina. What's that impact going to be to Lewisville? We absolutely don't have any clue at this point in time. I just philosophically think that we need to, as we go forward, not focus on a tax rate. We're going to live with this property revaluation for the next 4 years. So if you try to maintain it next year at the same rate, then we're going to draw again from our general fund, which is going to diminish the potential for assisting our citizens for rainy day emergencies. If you'll give me just 1 second to look back over my notes that I've done, I want to make sure that I've... Oh, and one last thing, don't mean this personal, but our one biggest increase, this just goes to show you when you're trying to run a town, if you will, our biggest percentage increase that we experienced this year is for legal services, which is approximately 33% increase, one jump. So, you know, that's the thing that's out of our control. And we got to address it, we got to pay it. Now, you know, what if Waste Management came in and asked for a 33% increase? Is there other vendors that we can turn to provide the services that we're currently getting from that vendor? So, you know, thank you for the time.
Thank you for your comments. Anything? Okay, that concludes your comments, Fred.
I'm good, thank you so much.
Any other council member have anything they'd like to say at this time?
I did have one question for Fred. Do you see potentially, I know, and I agree with what you're saying about funded positions and so forth, do you see that potentially that this could be an opportunity based on the manager's recommendation for elimination of position through attrition? I know sometimes, in an organization, you're not really looking that way, but then somebody moves or changes and it's viewed as an opportunity that some changes can be made without having to, get rid of anyone or anything like that.
Yes, I mean, I'm open to that, but again, we are paying Hank the big bucks, Lynn. The big bucks, to make that recommendation to us. Hank and I had a telephone conversation last night, and I have an idea, if you will, of what his thought process is going to be about this. And, he may bring to us a recommendation, not just for stormwater, but utilize this position to do not only stormwater, but things above and beyond that. So I think at this point in time, we need to leave that position authorized, not try to move any monies when it comes to our salaries and benefits and so forth as we roll into this budget. And then let him make that recommendation, and if we go along with that, then he has the opportunity to hire an individual that fits the characteristics of what he would like the job responsibilities to be, I heard you mention, well, let's go ahead and pull this out and put it in capital reserve. We can do a budget amendment down the road to reauthorize. Same thing, if he doesn't fill this position, then that money's gonna roll back into the general fund if it's not spent.
That's right. So at this point, then.
At this point in time, just
You would agree with Ed, with what Ed was saying about just kind of leaving it.
leave it where it is. Yeah.
And I'll say this, you're right too, Ed, the one thing that concerns me about capital reserves, and certainly we can move down the path we're talking here, but Fred will probably remember, and Dan will too, at one time, we really didn't set money aside capital reserves. And the idea was that, the money's always there in the general fund, it could be pulled. What was happening was, we were doing things that you could write a check for, but if it came to larger projects, it was difficult because of the way council structured, every 2 years having elections and so forth. It was difficult without, if money wasn't committed, then it was easy for councils to just kind of say, well, we won't pull it this year, and next year we'll take a look at it. And then when an example like the Great Wagon Road right-of-way, having that $800,000 actually committed to that right-of-way, I can tell you was a big plus for actually doing it, because had it not been committed that way, I don't know that we would have been willing to take $800,000 out of our general fund in order to go ahead and make that acquisition at the time, but we were willing to take, $25,000, $50,000 a year, because it was a much smaller chunk. So even if we do this, I would highly encourage that we not move away from utilizing capital reserves, because they've been highly successful for us up to this point. And we're in a different situation. We've also never had a situation where property values have gone down. We've also never had a situation where the Republicans have been in control of Raleigh forever, so we don't know how that's going to look for us. So I know there's a lot of variables, but I appreciate you answering that, Fred. I was curious what your thoughts were.
Tom, we had a discussion at our last budget get-together workshop, I guess is the correct term, that I believe that Robert suggested that we pull money out of the general fund to fund a couple of these capital reserves, which is, we quickly decided that don't take unrestricted money and restrict it. If you're going to put money into a capital reserve fund, it needs to be revenue that is coming in. And this is a budget where we don't have that revenue coming in, because we have seen a decrease in property valuations of approximately 8%, and we're maintaining the tax rate exactly where it was when we had 8% more revenue coming in. So that's the reason we're not funding capital reserves this time. I mean, to the extent that we're still funding some of them, the Great Wagon Road right-of-way now / construction, but you know, we could have diverted the cumulative 75,000 for the bike, and those greenways, and I forget the, stormwater, thank you. We could have, you know, had we had that revenue coming in, then we could have shifted that to the Great Wagon Road. And that's, I agree with, we need to continue to do that, you know.
Yeah, because I'm concerned, based on what you
Future
said.
councils need to have that fund, if you will, that can only be used to build that
Yes.
piece of the Great Wagon Road.
Because I'm concerned, based on what you said, I wouldn't want to get into next year, and then, because the shortfall that you're talking about will be there, and of course, the obvious answer will be, well, let's take it out of the capital reserve for Great Wagon Road, and then let's take it out, because there's really not
You
a lot of
actually
other
can't do
money.
that to do the running, the actual running of a town for a year. You can't pull it out of capital
No, I mean, let's
reserve.
not fund it next year instead, you know, the ones that we're funding this year.
The bottom line in my mind, and I'm being serious when I say this, we've got a property revaluation that occurred. We have properties that have been revalued. That's not gonna change for the next 4 years. Somebody that's sitting up here in the next 4 years is gonna have to raise the tax rate because we, on this budget, are not keeping it revenue neutral or keeping it somewhere close to revenue neutral. You're losing 1.6 cents that the town manager has presented to us, which is 115,000 for 1 penny. And I can't do the math in my head for the 0.6 cents, but I'm sure Kathy can tell me right off the top of her head. But, you know, so we're basically over somewhere around $200,000 short of revenue coming in round figures, you know. That much I can do. That 200,000 could be going to capital reserve. And that's what you know, and maintaining the current general fund unrestricted too. And again, an emergency that hits this town, this facility was built as an emergency to be a potential emergency shelter. That's the reason we've got a generator out here, we've got a kitchen right behind that wall, and we've got showers down that hallway out there. If it needed to be, you could put bunks right out here. That's what the people that was on the council when this building was being designed had in mind, that this is for the community. We as council members should always have fiduciary responsibilities to look out for the future of the community, not just the current, but the future.
So at the point we're at, what's your perception on where we go from here?
Well, we're gonna do, I'll just say it this way, this has been one of the most frustrating budget involvements that I've been involved with in 13 years. I don't know where we go for next year. I may not be on council next year. We have an election coming up in November, and, you know, we'll see who is sitting where we're sitting next year when we go through this cycle.
I know we need to get through this budget, but I would hope that, you make a lot of very good points, and I hope that, I know I wouldn't be here next year, because I turned it off, but I hope that, you folks that will be here, will take that into account, because we cannot have another, as Fred said, we cannot, this is not a sustainable path. It's a path, it's a balanced budget, we can make our ends meet this year, but it is not a sustainable, long-term scenario, because it has to draw down for at least the next 3-4 years until rebound, on the fund balance.
Let me ask a question.
Yep.
I know in a lot of the discussions we've had, I know we talked about, I'll use the term an overrun on the current budget here, is that correct? Do we have a number, or I mean, we're pretty darn close to finishing up this budget year. Kathy, do we know where we're gonna be when we finish up? I mean, because I thought we'd actually had an overrun in the current budget.
Well, we're, as Lieutenant mentioned that, through the budget message, that we're doing a guesstimate that we're gonna go up, fund balance, that, we're gonna try to be on 3.5. That's a really rough estimate because we've got, revenues that continue to come in within, 3 months after June 30th was over, that went back into the budget. So that's why it's very hard to guesstimate,
somewhere in the neighborhood of 300,000.
That's what I was, and not holding you to it, but
No, I don't want everybody to hold that number, but, I knew it would.
it's more than $1 and less than $1 million, right?
Right. But we're hoping to gain, that's the main objective, is we're hoping to gain, and we've held our expenditures to the ground as much as possible. And so, we're hoping that our revenues will come through for us from the state. And if they do, we'll do well.
Yeah. Additional questions? That conclude your?
Yes, sir. I'm all out of ideas.
Yeah, I do. I, during the budget process, I don't remember seeing Appendix A and Appendix B. And how does that differ from the 2012 and 2013 to the 2013, 2014? I remember seeing the budget, and I remember seeing Appendix C, but I never remembered seeing Appendix A and B.
Is this in the budget?
Uh-huh. Appendix A is lodging plus per diem, and Appendix B is the salary ranges per grade.
If I remember correctly, Fred, was that what you had mentioned the other day? I had put the wrong date on,
I think that
That
was
was it.
yours.
so it was in what you had last week.
Yeah,
But does it differ from 2012-13 to 2013-2014?
no, and those appendices, the only thing that differed were the rental fees that went up.
Yeah, we saw those, but I don't remember seeing A and B during the budget
They were
process.
there, and that's what I questioned Joel, they had a budget ordinance that had a 2012 number,
Mhm.
and it was just a typo, and so now you're seeing a 2013 number, but they had to change between the two.
They didn't change between the 2 years.
No, the only thing that changed was the rental schedule.
The only person that can answer any of those questions when it comes to actual money is this lady.
Well,
So-
the schedules,
so I could
the ones that she's referring to, that's not changed.
A and B have not changed.
That's correct. Not since you've seen them the first time. They're the
No.
same documents.
No, but I don't remember seeing one during the budget process. I remember seeing C, but don't remember seeing A and B.
We didn't get them till last week.
Last week,
Yeah, so-
first time we saw
Yeah,
it.
but we had discussion about them last week.
Yeah, I remember you asking about the
Right.
dates, but
Okay, let's see what-
A has not changed, pretty much except for the dates. B changes along with the proposed budget. The ranges change along with the proposed budget. Because the proposed budget includes a COLA, and a COLA changes the ranges from last year's budget to this year's budget.
so it changes the maximum.
The minimum and the max, that's your range. You go up from last year for, on whatever the minimum was last year, you increase it by 2%, which is the COLA proposal, and the maximum, you go from last year up 2% for the maximum. That's how your COLA changes your pay ranges. As far as C, that's the fee schedule. Joyce, did you have anything on the fee schedule that?
Just what we had given to them, I guess it was a month or so
Yeah.
before.
Right.
the corrections.
And so those are your appendixes.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else? Ann? Right.
You know, we talked this thing over and over and over, and I think we, like Fred said, we all got a little beef about it, but, overall, I think it's, we've been able to fulfill obligations to the citizens of Lewisville. And I think we can still fulfill what they deserve with this budget. And I'm comfortable with it.
Any other comments? Well, I have a few comments concerning, one of which is an extreme appreciation to our manager and to our finance director, and to all department heads for the due diligence and the work that they have put into this budget. We have, as a council, have experienced some heartburn along the way as, well, we looked at the budget and what's been troublesome or bothersome to each and every one of us. I've had the experience with budgets for a long career, and this is my 14th budget in this town. And I say that I'll agree with Fred. It may be one that's probably caused more of a heartburn than the ones I can remember in the past. But one thing I think that I hope that the public understands is that even though that we have had a lot of discussions, that we've had even objections to some portions, or maybe even the final document, each and every member of this council, I think I can say this in a certain degree of assurance, is got what they think is the best interest of Lewisville at heart. I don't think there's any question about that. We view things differently through different magnifying glasses, I guess. But rest assured that that this council has put a lot of time and effort into it. There's been an extreme amount of discussion, and we have come forth as the budget that was recommended to our town tonight from the manager. It's what at least the majority of the budget of the council had agreed to at our very last budget workshop. Yes, there's a lot of unknowns that are going to be facing towns of Lewisville and all the way across the state as to what tax reform really means to each one of these towns and municipalities. And that is one of the reasons why, when I first took a look at what had actually the very first projection, I guess, of the budget, I started looking at it in somewhat of a different light. That we know that there are these somewhat unknowns. We know that we're being affected by the reevaluation, and but as to what the perfect tax rate would be at this point in time, I think would be impossible really to set. And I'm not an individual, and I'm just speaking for myself on this, that would want to set a tax rate that on speculation as to what's going to happen at the state level. And that's one of the reasons why I have recommended all along that we look at the prevailing tax rate that we've had for the last 8 years. It's served us well, really and truly. We have, as Fred had mentioned, we've grown our unrestricted fund balance. It's close to, what we say, 3.5 million. We've got just under $1 million in these capital reserve funds. 992 or something kind of comes to mind. I'm not sure that's the exact word or the exact figure or not. But so there is additional money in the bank. And also we have over time have accumulated a reserve in our PAL bill disbursements. That it is in the neighborhood of $750,000, I think, something along that line. So I guess my bottom line is that we're in excellent shape as we stand. Yes, we are seeing this 8% decline, which amounted to $185,000. That's what that came to from just the property tax aspect of it. But to try to guess as to what a tax rate should be to set for and it'd be a half a year that the next council would have to live with, or actually into the third year out, it would be next to impossible. So that's why I won't say fought, but that's why I was certainly in favor of maintaining the tax rate that we had. Didn't set my focus on it to begin with, but when you go through and you look at the essentials that this town has to have for operation, money to pay for our public safety, money to pay for our garbage and recycling, money for street repair, things of that nature. We're in very good shape for those type of things, and we've done it at that particular tax rate. Yes, the future, we don't know what it's gonna be. We may certainly have to make some adjustments, councils in the future. But we should know certainly by the next budget cycle exactly what those numbers need to be. And rather than to piecemeal into it, I'm of the opinion that we stay with this 17.7 tax rate and the budget that was actually presented by our manager tonight. With that, I make a motion that we accept that budget as proposed, and with the accompanying, the supporting ordinances. I think rather than having to go through each and every one of them, we could take them as a group. I understand that correctly. So that's my motion. Do we have a second?
Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the like sign.
No.
We have a 5-to-1 vote for the budget, and I think that, as they say, seals the deal. And so, again, thank you, staff, for your work and the effort put into this. Thank you, council, for all the time and effort that you put into it. And one thing about it, we will go forward with the town of Lewisville's best interest in mind. With that, we will go to I think that takes care of the business aspects of the budget. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Attorney or Mr. Manager? Okay. We'll go to the next item of business, please.
Okay, next item of business is unfinished business. There are none on the agenda for this evening. Next section is new business. We do have a resolution 2013020. This is accepting the resignation of Chair Fred Bergman from the Lewisville Public Safety Advisory Committee.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 3020, or 0020, I'm sorry.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Other than we're sorry to lose Fred from the public safety. He's been a very valuable addition, or a member of that committee. It will be a loss, for sure.
He's moving outside the town. That was the only reason he
I
resigned.
understand. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay, any other comments? All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Okay, that resolution passes.
Okay, the next section under administrative reports, we have upcoming events at Shalford Square. The first is the beach class, which will be this weekend, Saturday, 15th. The next would be the 4th of July Independence Day celebration at the square with fireworks on the 4th. And then on the 13th, we will have a summer recycle day. This will be hosted by the recycling committee. But in the,
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Will we have e-cycle at this one?
I'm not sure, Councilman, I will have to check that out. and get back to you.
Please, let's find that out.
Okay.
I missed the last e-cycle, and I got some.
Okay.
E-cycle.
Yes, I'm not
We
familiar.
did have e-cycling.
We have had it, and I'm not sure if it,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I missed that one, and I've got
It's
some,
it's a good opportunity.
I got some old CRTs and stuff, but.
Okay. Councilman, Lynn Hall back there is telling me here, I guess if I'm reading the signals here that she does not believe that it will be a part of this.
Okay, well, that's fine. I just,
According to their,
I know we have one a
Schedule.
year, and that's,
I don't think it's been scheduled yet.
okay, all right.
On the 20th of July, we'll have the movie The Lorax at the Shalford Square. And then moving into August, on the 9th of August, we
That's the
will,
20th of June.
is it June? It says July.
Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry, okay,
Okay.
sorry.
The 8th of August, we'll have another movie night. It'll be Madagascar 3. And then on August 17th, we'll have a concert featuring the Honeysuckle Ridge. And that concludes the events that I've had to report.
There
Yes,
was
ma'am.
also, on the night that we have the Lorax, prior to that, I believe, Lynn will be holding a cornhole tournament.
Is that, yes, that's just not at Shalford Square. That will be at Jack Warren Park. Oh, it's not?
Shalford Square.
All right.
But it's in the morning.
Okay.
Would you mention the bicycle, I'm not sure what it's called, but the one that, the big race or
Yeah,
event that they're
this
having
weekend
is
we
actually
did-
gonna come through?
We did find out very late in the game, and I think it was our own fire chief that came and paid us a visit, I guess paid Lynn a visit mid to late last week and informed us that there had been a bicycle event starting in Winston-Salem that I think at first count was supposed to be very big. The majority of riders would come through this Saturday while we were setting up, hopefully before the beach blast starts up. I've learned today from our fire chief that the number right now for the bicyclists involved in that event is around 125. So at this point, we are projecting that the impact on Saturday will be less than originally thought, but we do have that happening. And that will, I think, for Lewisville, consist of a majority of the bikers coming in the morning down Shalford Road.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, they have 3 projected routes and 3 different, miles, a 32, a 52, and an 82. And so the 32 encompasses most of Lewisville, the 52 encompasses most of Lewisville and just a portion of Yadkin County, and the 82 takes you all the way out to 67 and then back around. But they both show going out through Lewisville and then coming back through Lewisville.
Yeah, and at one time, there was thought that there was potential for thousands to be coming through there, so that's good news, really.
Yes, it is. We were glad to hear that the numbers, I don't know if the event organizers are happy with that, but it spells better news for us on Saturdays than what we contemplated for our Beach Blast event.
Do we expect any, I was reading the letter that we got today about the chambers, about directing traffic off of 40.
Yes.
Do we expect any of that to come through?
From what I gather, they're not actively displaying Shalford, but, I think the majority of what they give the signage for is for the people from out of town. The folks that are locals around here, they know the roads, they're gonna go where they need to go. And so I would not count out that impact as well.
That most of it will be in Clemens,
Mhm. You're right, that is gonna be
it's
most.
gonna be in Clemens, yeah. All
That's a 40 closure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a 40 closure, but this time they're not they're not suggesting the alternative routes.
They're not,
So if you're not from out of town, they're not giving you the suggested routes to take
they
this
won't
on.
come past Russell Clemens out here, 421. The congestion is gonna be in Clemens, believe me. It's been that way for the last 3 weekends, so,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Anything else from?
Moving into manager's report, just make a point that the July 4th does fall on a Thursday in July. It's the first Thursday. That is normally our briefing night. We will be having the briefing that for July, the day before, on the 3rd of July. And then June 25th, 2013, the town of Lewisville is hosting a DOT meeting for the Northern Beltway. The meeting is a local officials meeting to meet here and receive comment and be given information from DOT. And affected adjacent property owners to this northern section have been sent mailings, and they have been coming to town hall as early as, I can't think, late last week and early this week, to view maps we have on file of the corridor section. So we do have those available for public inspection as well. Okay. That concludes my comments.
Which then brings us to the final piece of our agenda and the second opportunity for public comment. As before, the same rules apply. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to address council, may do so by coming to the microphone, stating your name and your address, and limiting the comments to 3 minutes. Do we have anyone that would like to address council at this time? Okay. And we do have the forms available for written comments. So we'll close the public comment section and go to council comments. Any input or comment from council members at this time? Well, I'd like to certainly, one acknowledgement and degree of appreciation for all the participants that took place and that made possible the recent play or musical that was put on, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. It was extremely well attended. It was very professional. The cast was, in my opinion, was outstanding. And then certainly all the support groups that had a part of that, including our staff, and certainly including Miss Lynn Hall for all that she has done. She took the, I guess, directive from council this past year to not let the plays or musicals go away in Shallowford Square. And so far we've had 2 productions last fall and the one this spring, with a third one planned. I don't know if there's how far along we are in the planning for it yet, but we will have a fall play also. And Lynn, we thank you very much for all your hard work and effort that you put into making that happen. And I can tell you that it was done certainly below budget. So thank you so much for that.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
As sort of relation to that, did it fit our stage in the new storage location?
Yes.
Okay. Everything went well there?
There.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Good.
We thank Councilman Green for
Just wondered if it fit. You never know, you can try to put it in there.
That's right.
Yeah. Just wondered if it fit.
Security.
I have some comments too. I received a lot of good comments about the play. We actually attended 2 out of the 3 nights ourselves to watch it twice because Olivia just loved it and was just mesmerized by it. And our community policing wanted to thank us for that choice also because it was the least amount of crowd control they had to manage because all of the kids were sitting down focused. They never had to run anybody off the playgrounds or ask them to go to their seat and be quiet because they were just so mesmerized by the play. It was just great for the kids. And they just wanted to thank you too.
Any comments? A couple of parting things. Certainly, Franklin, thank you for being with us this summer again, and we look forward to the remainder of the summer term with you. And then our thanks to the Boy Scout Troop 705 for being here tonight to participate and hopefully learn from how your town government works and some of the intricacies of it. And so we appreciate that very much. Therefore, I'll ask for a motion for adjournment.
Motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.